Picture this. A woman who once ruled the world's fantasies now sitting across from her two grown sons, planning a comeback that nobody saw coming. Pamela Anderson, the icon who defined an entire generation's idea of beauty and rebellion, is about to resurrect the role that nearly destroyed her career. But this time, she's not doing it alone. The year was 1996. Pamela Anderson stood on a movie set, leather-clad and defiant, embodying Barb Wire, a character that would become both her greatest risk and her most haunting reminder of Hollywood's cruel games. The movie flopped. Critics tore it apart. Her dreams of serious acting seemed to crumble with every scathing review. But here's what makes this story extraordinary. 28 years later, that same woman is ready to reclaim her narrative. And the two people helping her do it, the sons she protected from the spotlight for decades. Let's go back to the beginning. Because Pamela's story isn't just about fame or failure. It's about survival. Born on July 1, 1967, in Ladysmith, British Columbia, Pamela Denise Anderson entered a world that would both worship and punish her for the very thing that made her famous, her uncompromising authenticity. Her childhood wasn't the glamorous origin story you might expect from a future icon. Her father, Barry, worked as a furnace repairman. Her mother, Carol, was a waitress. They were working-class people trying to make ends meet in a small Canadian town. Pamela learned early that if you wanted something, you had to fight for it. I was always different, she would later reflect. I felt things more deeply than other people. That intensity would become both her superpower and her Achilles heel. In 1989, attending a BC Lions football game in Vancouver, Pamela's life changed forever. The camera found her in the crowd, wearing a Labatt's blue t-shirt. That single moment caught on the stadium's big screen launched 1,000 dreams and just as many nightmares. Labatt's hired her as a spokesperson. Suddenly, this small-town girl was thrust into the spotlight. But it was Hugh Hefner who truly changed everything. Playboy came calling, and in February 1990, Pamela graced her first cover. The world fell in love with her instantly. But love, as Pamela would learn, can be a dangerous thing when it comes from millions of strangers. The early 90s were a whirlwind. Baywatch discovered her, and she became C.J. Parker, the lifeguard who ran in slow motion straight into television history. Every episode was watched by over 1 billion people worldwide. She wasn't just famous. She was a phenomenon. But fame has a way of isolating you, even when you're surrounded by millions of admirers. Then came Tommy Lee. Their meeting was electric, dangerous, and immediate. After knowing each other for just 4 days, they married on a beach in Cancun in 1995. The rock star and the beach goddess. It seemed like a fairy tale written in leather and lace. We were crazy about each other, Pamela would later say. And you can still hear the longing in her voice when she talks about those early days. Their love story became the stuff of tabloid legend. But behind the glamour, something darker was brewing. Their infamous tape stolen, distributed, and turned into a weapon against them became the first viral scandal of the internet age. While Tommy's career barely wavered, Pamela bore the brunt of public judgment. The woman who had built her career on owning her sexuality suddenly found herself shamed for it. It was during this turbulent period that Barb Wire entered her life. The film was supposed to be her transition from sex symbol to serious actress. Based on the Dark Horse Comics character, Barb Wire was everything Pamela wanted to prove she could be tough, independent, complex. She threw herself into the role with the desperation of someone fighting for their artistic life. This was my chance, she would later admit. I wanted to show them I was more than just a pretty face, but Hollywood had other plans. The movie hit theaters with a thud that echoed through her career for decades. Critics called it an embarrassment. Box office numbers were brutal. The film that was supposed to elevate her instead became a punchline. What hurt most wasn't the financial failure. It was the way the industry dismissed her efforts. They'd built her up as a fantasy, then punished her for trying to be anything more. Meanwhile, her personal life was unraveling. The marriage to Tommy became a battlefield. Their love, once passionate and consuming, turned volatile and destructive. The birth of their sons, Brandon in 1996 and Dylan in 1997, should have brought them together. Instead, it highlighted how incompatible they'd become. The divorce was messy, public, and heartbreaking. But here's where Pamela's real strength showed itself. While the world watched her stumble, she picked herself up. Again and again, she threw herself into activism, becoming a fierce advocate for animal rights and environmental causes. She showed up for PETA campaigns, fought against the fur industry, and used her platform for something meaningful. The same woman who was mocked for Barb Wire was now risking her career to save seals. Her children became her anchor. Brandon and Dylan grew up watching their mother navigate impossible situations with grace and determination. They saw her rise and fall and rise again. "My mom taught us that setbacks aren't endings," Brandon would later say. "They're just plot twists." The years that followed were a masterclass in reinvention. Pamela appeared on reality shows, wrote novels, and continued her activism. She dated celebrities and regular people. She made mistakes and owned them. She kept evolving when the world wanted her to stay frozen in 1995. But Barb Wire lingered, not as a failure, but as unfinished business. The character had something to say that the world wasn't ready to hear in 1996. Barb Wire was a woman taking control in a man's world, using her sexuality as power rather than surrender. She was ahead of her time, much like Pamela herself. Fast forward to 2024. The entertainment landscape has transformed completely. Streaming services are hungry for content with built-in audiences. Reboots and revivals dominate television. The same industry that once dismissed Barb Wire now sees its potential. But more importantly, the world has changed. The conversations around female empowerment, body autonomy, and owning your narrative have evolved. What seemed like exploitation in 1996 now reads as empowerment. Barb Wire's story suddenly feels relevant. Necessary, even. Enter Brandon and Dylan Lee. These aren't just Pamela's sons anymore. Brandon, now 28, has carved out his own path in modeling and acting. Dylan, 27, has pursued music and creative projects. They've watched their mother's career from the inside, understanding both its triumphs and its challenges. Most importantly, they've seen how Barb Wire haunted her, and they want to help her reclaim it. The announcement came quietly at first. Industry insiders started whispering about a Barb Wire television reboot. Then came confirmation Pamela Anderson would return, not just as the star, but as an executive producer. And standing beside her, her two sons taking on production roles. This isn't just a comeback. It's a family mission. "We grew up hearing about this project," Dylan explained in a recent interview. "We saw how much it meant to our mom and how unfairly it was treated. We want to give it the platform it deserves," Brandon added. "This character represents everything our mother has always been: strong, independent, unafraid to fight for what's right." The world is finally ready for that story. The television format offers something the original film couldn't time. Time to develop Barb Wire's world, to explore the character's complexity, to tell the kind of nuanced story that was impossible in a 90-minute movie. Early reports suggest the series will be grittier, more character-driven than its predecessor. It's being developed with the same attention to world building that's made shows like The Mandalorian and Westworld successful, but this project represents more than just entertainment. For Pamela, it's closure. It's the chance to take a story that was used against her and transform it into something empowering. For Brandon and Dylan, it's an opportunity to show the world the woman they've always known, not the tabloid caricature, but the fierce, intelligent, compassionate person who raised them. The symbolism is powerful. A mother and her sons working together to resurrect a project that once represented failure, turning pain into purpose, transforming judgment into justice, and Pamela. At 57, she's not the same woman who stepped onto that movie set in 1996. She's someone who has survived everything Hollywood could throw at her. She's learned to separate her worth from public opinion. She's discovered that the most powerful comeback is the one you choose for yourself. "I'm not trying to recapture the past," she said recently. "I'm trying to complete a story that was never properly told. The production is still in early stages, but the pieces are falling into place. Writers are being assembled. Directors are being courted. The project has the backing of executives who understand that nostalgia alone isn't enough. The story has to matter. Early concept art suggests a world that's both familiar and fresh. The post-apocalyptic setting remains, but with modern sensibilities about power, survival, and resistance. Barb Wire isn't just a vigilante anymore. She's a symbol of female agency in a world trying to strip it away. The character's iconic look is being updated, but not abandoned. The leather and attitude remain, but with purpose rather than provocation. This Barb Wire will be complex, flawed, and ultimately heroic in ways the original film never had time to explore. For Brandon and Dylan, working with their mother represents a full-circle moment. They're no longer the children being protected from the spotlight. They're collaborators. Partners in telling a story they believe in. "Our mom taught us that failure only happens when you stop trying," Brandon reflected. She never stopped believing in this character, even when everyone else did. The project also represents something larger in Hollywood: the power of persistence. How many stories have been dismissed only to find their audience years later? How many careers have been written off only to find new life in a changed world? Pamela's journey from Baywatch to Barb Wire to this reboot is a masterclass in resilience. It's proof that sometimes the most meaningful success comes not from avoiding failure, but from transforming it. As production moves forward, the anticipation is building. Fans who remember the original film with fondness are excited to see it reimagined. New audiences, curious about the mythology, are ready to discover Barb Wire's world. But perhaps the most excited viewers will be those who understand what this project really represents. A woman taking control of her own narrative, supported by the family she raised to believe in second chances. The Barb Wire TV reboot isn't just about resurrecting a character. It's about proving that it's never too late to tell your story the way it was meant to be told. And sometimes, the most powerful stories are the ones that come from the heart, passed from mother to sons, from one generation to the next, carrying hope and determination across decades of doubt. This is Pamela Anderson's time. This is Brandon and Dylan's moment. This is Barb Wire's chance to finally be the hero she was always meant to be. The revolution, it seems, has been worth the wait. What do you think about this incredible family collaboration? Are you excited to see Pamela reclaim her narrative with her sons by her side? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to Luminoir for more stories about the untold journeys of Hollywood's most fascinating figures.